Hey, this is John from Whatifi, and in this video I'm going to cover the basics of adding events and records to your model and calculating multiple threads. If you're watching this video, this is a temporary video. We are rapidly evolving our UI as I record this, and many things will be changing, but this covers core concepts there. You will notice that some parts of the UI may be dramatically different or more evolved, but the core concepts are still the same. In the previous video, we created this starter model here right now, and now we're going to add some more events to this. So I'm going to close this particular panel to give us some more space. In the canvas here, I can select any event and I can left click and drag this around. You also have the ability to zoom out and zoom in to be able to see more information. And when I click on an event here, on our regular events, you will see a menu. The root event or the start event is really the beginning of your model, and it's a bit of a special case scenario here. To add our first event, we have our plus icon here on our root or our start event. And when I select on this one here, it brings us to our Event Selector. In the future versions of this will be a lot more refined and easier to sort through. But for now, I want to pick a very basic event. One of our most common events would be, for example, an income event. So I'm going to select the income event here, and I'm going to add this to my canvas. And this brings up the Edit Details modal. And in here is where we enter some of the key information required to run a calculation. Within each event, you can create multiple records or entities. So let's create our first one. Let's call this income stream 1. Okay, have to give it a name. And if I'm looking at calculating ongoing income, let's assume that there is a monthly income that's coming in and that it is, say, $30,000 a month. We're going to give this a start date. So maybe this isn't starting until September, and an end date is optional. So if we don't create an end date, it is just going to repeat that $30,000 month over month over month over month. So let's take a look at that as a starter. And then I'm going to come back and explain some more of these fields here. So if I say fill and add, it's now adding that event to the model. Now you'll notice that it's currently grayed out right now. By the time you view this, hopefully this icon down here will turn red or give you some indication that there is a change to the model. And if you actually want to display that information, you need to re-simulate the model. So I'm going to be clicking this button for now. The calculation has run off to AWS and has come back again, and now I have some information here for this particular model. Okay? Now, what have I done? If I open up our graph here right now, which is this button on the left here, you'll see that I have $30,000 a month that is displaying here month over month. Really important note, we are updating this particular piece, so this calculation is currently incorrect, so I just want to establish that right now. So I've now added income to the model here right now, and I am seeing this updating month over month over month. In the previous video, I talked about how I can select the other ledgers here and choose which data I want to be able to display. Now, I'm going to come back to this as we add some more details here because this is an important distinction in our model, but I'm going to add this for display, which means I'm also now displaying my income, which also happens to be $30,000 a month. Okay. Now let's go and make a couple of changes. One, I can drag these events however I want to around. I can also press the Command button on a Mac to drag these together if I need to. I'm going to select once on the event here to bring up some of the menu, and this shows you some of the functionality that's available to us. And we're going to want to edit this event. I can select Edit, or I can also just double click on this to open up that modal again. Okay, and now we're going to make some changes. Now, we have a ledgers system in our software. It is no different than an accounting structure where you have income, expenses, liabilities, assets, etc. When I select on the select account, you can sort of see we are already in the income level here, and we have some existing sub-accounts that are in there. So there's a main income and another income, for example, there. So I could also select main income here if I want to be able to allocate this income to a sub-account. There's also the world where maybe I want to create a custom account inside of that. So maybe instead of that, I want to go a layer deeper down inside my main income, and maybe I want to call this, Vancouver revenue. So what I'm doing right now is I'm creating a new custom ledger called Vancouver revenue, and it is nested under income, main income, Vancouver revenue, and we give you some controls on how you want to display that data as well. Keep in mind we can display any type of data, whether this is employees or customer counts or other sort of things. So you may want to change some of this formatting, but for this particular use case, this is perfect. I'm going to select Create Ledger here, Create Account, and now I'm actually assigning that revenue to the Vancouver revenue level here. So now I'm going to click Update again here just to show you what that does. So I still have the $30,000 in income because it is a nested account and those calculations roll up. So now that we've made that update, let's see what that means to the graph. Now I'm going to make a mistake here intentionally just to show you why it's important to recalculate. So I'm opening up my other ledgers and I'm now looking for that main income and that revenue income from Vancouver, and you're seeing that it's not here. Hopefully by the time you're looking at this version, we'll have again an indicator here and even an indicator here that changes have been made. I need to recalculate my scenario. And now I've actually generated ledger data for main income and for my Vancouver revenue. So I'm going to select Vancouver revenue and income and even the main income here and add this here so we can see all these values. So I'm able to see my $30,000 a month in Vancouver revenue, which rolls up to being $30,000 in main income, which rolls up to being $30,000 in income. All right. So now I want to show you how we can add more information inside this event. I'm going to double click on it again. I have my Vancouver revenue, but let's duplicate this record. And now let's call this income stream number 2. And maybe this is quarterly revenue that is $23,000 a month. This doesn't start until November, and let's assign this to a different account. So I'm going to create a different account here, and I'm going to call this my London revenue. I'm going to create that account, and I'm going to assign it here. So a quick note here, I did make one mistake when I was adding that in. So I need to open this back up again, and you'll notice that here I actually forgot to assign it to the London revenue. So I created the account, but I didn't click the London revenue. I'm going to update that properly here. Okay. I'm going to recalculate. And now when I load up my other ledgers, I'm going to have my income, and then I'm going to have my main income, and here I'm going to have London and Vancouver revenue. I'm going to add those in now, and this is an important sort of distinction. So my total income is still the aggregate of both of those, but I can now display my London revenue or my Vancouver revenue, and if I command click on a Mac, I'm not sure what that is on a Windows, you can actually display both of those concurrently. So now I'm seeing both of those revenue streams here at the same time, and we can choose to look at that data weekly, monthly, or quarterly. And we could also turn on cumulative here if we want to, so we can see what that revenue looks like cumulatively in both of those threads. So next what we want to do is we want to create our first decision in our software. So maybe there are different values for the London revenue and Vancouver revenue, and we want to create another scenario. Now normally you would think you would be able to take this event and you would be able to copy it and paste it. But it's really important in our architecture that anytime we want to have more than one option, we need to insert a decision event first. If you hover over any line in between events, you have the ability to access a menu here as well. We could, in theory, insert any event here as part of our calculations, but we want to insert a decision event here. So I'm going to select a decision and add this to the canvas here, and here's our first decision. And we can rename this if we want to. So this is revenue options, and I'm going to fill and add that to the model here. You'll notice this is gray, which means it's not currently calculating. I'm going to select my income event here, and I'm going to copy that event. and then I'm going to select the event that I want to paste it from. I could paste it in between, but then what you'll see, and let's just do that as an example, if I paste this, it pastes the event in between, which doesn't actually create a second thread. I'm going to delete this, and instead I'm going to select the event that I want to paste on, and now when I click paste, you'll see that it creates a branch, a separate one there, and we now have two decisions that are calculating. Before I recalculate, I'm actually going to go in and make some changes here at the same time too. So I'm going to, call this income event 2 here. I'm going to go to the Vancouver revenue, and I'm going to change this to be $50,000. And I'm going to go to income stream number 2, and I'm going to change this to be $12,000. And I'm going to change the start date to be January 2025. And here I'm going to enter an optional end date. And now I'm going to click update. I still have to recalculate the model, so I'm recalculating the model. Okay. So now we have two scenarios that are calculating here. Scenario 1 and scenario 2. I've selected both of those, and I'm able to see both of those on the graph at the same time too. I'm going to open up those other ledger data, and this will be sticky eventually, so it won't always have to do this every single time. And I'm going to bring back up my two different revenue streams, Vancouver revenue and London revenue, and my income overall. I'm going to display this on the graph here. So now I'm able to look at my income in both of the models. I can look at my monthly Vancouver revenue in both of the models, or my monthly London revenue in both of those models there at the same time. So that's the basics right now of how we add new events and how we can duplicate some of those. In the next video, I'm going to cover some of the more advanced functions in this particular piece, including how we can reconverge scenario threads back together again to do downstream calculations, how to lock events, and how to make some custom changes.